It's very hard to think that we're not living in a simulation to me. The way that I've thought about it and kind of heard about it, if you just look at the progression of just video games in general in the last 20 years, it is insane. Obviously, you remember like the first fucking Nintendos that were there when we were young versus virtual reality and the type of graphics we have on video
that's in
games.
just 30 years.
That's in 30 years. Imagine hundreds of years. It will be.
Imagine millions of years.
It will be indistinguishable from reality, if not better than reality. And we've had this conversation.
We're not going to talk about this. Brennan would rather live in a simulation. And he knows it's a simulation.
It's hard to argue against. Why wouldn't you?
I argued against it.
You did. You and Brittany both teamed up on me. And I was really just trying to urge you guys in a certain direction. But
well, I get the pull of it. But if I knew that it was a simulation, that alone would be enough to deter me. Personally.
Yeah.
Because I would want to be in my real body.
Could you compare it to vacation? Like if you went on vacation, sometimes it seems perfect. Let's just say hypothetically.
As a vacation, I would love to be in a simulation if I could do it for a weekend.
But have you ever had those thoughts while you're on vacation? Like, I could do this forever. I never want to go back home.
Sure. But then eventually you want to go back home, don't you? You get homesick.
Well, I get homesick after like a couple hours of not being home.
Okay, well, that's what I mean. Like, forever, just living full time in that would be a lot to ask.
Yeah, I could. I don't think so, but I could argue with it.
It would be a lot of fun for a really long time, but eventually I would absolutely crave my real body.
I can't imagine that.
Just to know that it's real, I would.
You wouldn't know a difference.
Yes, I would. The fact that I know that I'm in a simulation is knowing the difference. If that thought is in my head at all. If it wasn't, then I can't say I would.
But how, I mean, what if like...
Come on, keep going.
No,
because I'm not going to move. It's just that one tidbit. If I knew I was in a simulation, that is enough.
My thing is, you could have the perfect life. You could have anything you wanted, perfect friends, perfect house, or whatever.
Perfect.
It's all exactly. It's this landscape of fucking perfection.
What you're describing is you need to read the book 1984.
I will read it.
You also need to read A Brave New World.
I don't want to do both of them.
You should read both of them.
Pick me one.
I'll read 1984 because that's the one I've read. I've read that more recently.
You create. I don't know what the book's about, but I'm assuming you're gonna get to the point of
it's about a utopia.
You create this utopia and you eventually get sick of it and it's not a utopia anymore.
Read it. It's not. I can't do it justice by giving a little synopsis.
But the thing is it's constantly updating. I don't know. There's no downside of it if you don't want there to be a downside. Everything feels exactly the same in your brain.
Book. The seed that causes their discomfort is knowing that it's not real. Sure. Knowing that life is imperfect. That's enough of a seed to make them want to go somewhere else.
But why would you?
Because if everything is perfect, you no longer, after a while, you no longer have any gauge as to what's good and what's bad, as to things that you should enjoy. It's all just a fucking orgasm. Like,
I see what you're saying. If everything is perfect, then nothing's perfect. Maybe
it's all just melancholy.
You can kind of create that too, though, for yourself. You can create some destruction or some unwavering virus or who cares? You can make it whatever you want. You can have this sort of landscape of good and bad, or good and evil, or whatever you want it to be. That's the thing.
But you're creating it all. That's part of the whole thing. Is that like, if you're creating it all,
unexpected, I guess.
Yeah, there's no variables in life anymore.
So
there's nothing to make things interesting. It's all coming from you.
I can see.
And then that's where you say maybe you can hire somebody to throw a wrench in the engine.
No, I wouldn't say that because I would want it to be completely you. I don't know. I see what you're saying.
I would love to do it,
but
for like a limited amount of time.
Sure. Okay, I can see limited, but the majority of the time I would want to spend in this universe. And I'd come back to... It's like being an avatar. I thought about this earlier for some reason. Like, even if you watch the movie, you would want to live in the Avatar world, even if you knew you weren't really that and you were some fucking crippled human. Why would you want to go back to that? What?
It depends on what would be your predicaments in this reality, I guess, too. It depends. It'll vary person to person. But like I was saying, for me, I would, if I had to choose one permanently, I would choose this one. For me.
It's hard to say until you get into that situation, but I mean, ignorance is bliss.
You wouldn't be ignorant. That's my point.
Do you think eventually you would be? Like, no. Eventually you would kind of just lose sight of it? Like, if you lasted a lifetime, if not a millennia.
Now we're talking about, like,
it's all...
We're getting into Inception and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like so a dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah, right. But how would you know? I mean, I think... sorry. All right.
It's like asking me to forget that I played baseball. I won't until I get Alzheimer's, you know?
But what if you lived for 5,000 more years?
Well, would I live for 5,000 years in a simulation? I guess it's possible.
It could seem that way. You can manipulate time. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. If you could create a simulation, you can definitely manipulate your brain to create
just living for 5,000 years, you would know that that's not natural. Especially if you have any kind of perception of what normal life is like.
That's what I'm saying. Eventually, you would forget. It's like your memories as a child. Like, you don't.
But it's not the same.
You remember parts of them, but
because
you don't
as a child,
them.
Your brain was in its infancy, and you did not have complex thought. Really, maybe you did, and you just couldn't express it. But your brain wasn't the same.
Yeah,
like people in their 80s still remember shit from their teens. You know, it's not the same.
I hardly remember things from my teens.
I mean, I have a couple of memories from pre-5.
I'd like to say I would, but I've like looked up a lot of stuff on memories, and most people's memories are not what they think they are. A lot of people, you feel like you remember it because it feels real in your brain, but it's probably not what you thought it was.
We need to stop talking about this because we're gonna have probably a whole episode
going down a
about simulation theory or whatever.
Yeah.
So this could be a long discussion in itself.
Yeah.
So we should jump off that train right now.